Hey, we're taking a trip to the Philippines with this dish, guys. Honestly, this pork hamonado is mind-blowing. This is like the perfect different type of Sunday dinner you could give your family. And my God, are you going to be eating good. For the recipe, head on over to kcknh.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Just a few fun facts here about the Philippines, consisting of over 7,000 islands. There's so much history here, guys, and honestly, if you're into architecture like I am, you could see so much during your visit in the Philippines, whether it's daytime, nighttime, on land, if you're going shopping, or if you're taking in some beautiful, breathtaking scenes below the ocean. You're certainly going to love this. And the best part about the recipe, guys, you can find everything local. You can. The only offshoot is the Filipino soy sauce. And I have to stress this. You have to use Filipino soy sauce for this. And if you're a rice fan like I am, get the rice cookers out, guys. You're going to need a lot of it. This recipe here is going to be the simplest thing you'll ever make. And it's very important to get everything prepped ahead of time like you see here. Now we do have fresh pineapple. Typically in the Philippines they use canned pineapple in juice. I'm going for fresh. I love fresh pineapple. It just tastes so much better. Now normally it uses pork belly, but at $5.49 a pound, they can keep it. I'm using Boston butt here, which has just enough marbling and fat to mimic pork belly. And we're going to set that aside and take care of the fresh vegetables first. So you always wash your fruits and veg. I'm just taking a clean towel to this to dry it off. I used approximately half of this pineapple. You could certainly use as much as you want, but we do want to try to keep some sort of balance with this. So we're just going to show you what I ended up doing here. So tops and bottoms off that pineapple, they gotta go. And you're going to cut this in half. The other half I used for drinks. I have no shame. Hey, I have to use it, right? So with the pineapple, we're going to cut it in half, set the other half aside. Go ahead and take the skin off with your knife. Go in a slightly curved motion with your knife so you can get rid of those eyes. This will help keep the pineapple intact so much better for you. And very important, when you're working with pineapple, you're going to be leaching some fluids onto the board. So after you're done prepping that pineapple, make sure you wipe it down and clean it really good. Because this is going to break down other foods that you work with if you don't clean that cutting board. So we're just wiping up, keeping it nice and clean. Now we do have the stem that we do not want to keep, so I'm just going to cut twice and then cut again around it. It just makes life so much easier with the knife. I don't bother with the pineapple cutters, it's just no point. And with the wedges, you're going to do bite-sized pieces, kind of like small square slabs with those pieces that you took away from the core. And you just want to keep your knife cuts as consistent as possible. By keeping it kind of like a chip form, it's actually going to hold up very well because we're going to look at this from a braising perspective. We're doing a partial cook on the pork just to brown it, but everything else is going to go into a roasting pan. And that's the beauty of this dish, guys. I found a way to be able to make this with less time at the stove, put it in the oven, and let the oven do the work for you. So we're doing a basic dice on the onion. We're not going to go fancy schmancy on it. In fact, this is painstakingly simple. Oh my God. It took about 3 hours to braise to get it nice and broken down and tender and juicy. That's the best part about this. You can go on and take care of other things in the house while the oven does the work for you. Can't go wrong with that, right? So when you're working with fresh garlic, get rid of that inner root, guys. Do the best you can. It does change the flavor. It can be very bitter. You end up with sulfur burps. Trust me, you don't want sulfur burps. Just don't do it, okay? You don't want to experience it. So we're going to do a rough chop. We're going to let a small high-powered blender blitz this down. We're not going to kill ourselves with knife cuts today. I'm going to give you a break. Basically, in a nutshell, we're just breaking it down so it's easier for the blades of that small high-powered blender to be able to blitz it. And we're going to use a little bit of the pineapple juice that we already poured off, just so there's some fluid to help get this down to the blade. And it doesn't take long, so just blitz it down until it's nice and smooth. Or if you are into texture, it's okay. Chop to your heart's content. Whatever floats your boat. So into that roasting pan, we're going to fire everything together. We got the onions, we got the garlic puree. Now I had, which is not traditional, a red bell pepper that I needed to use. It was still good, I only had one. So eventually you'll see something red in this dish. So don't worry about it. So I'm going to put in my pineapple juice here. I've got some white vinegar that's going in. That's the sour component. We have our Filipino soy sauce, which by the way is absolutely delicious. And we are adding a little bit of water to this because eventually we've got to still put some spices. Eventually the bay leaf will go in here along with this brown sugar and fresh pulverized pepper. You can do peppercorns whole, you can do them cracked, it's up to you. But into that roasting pan, just give it a good mix. That way you can get everything mixed up together and you can start helping that brown sugar to dissolve. And we're going to set that aside with the pineapple in it that we've already cut. And everything is going to marry in this in such a beautiful way. The flavors are really incredible now, but wait till it's done. And your home is going to smell amazing for quite some time. I think we smelled this for like a day. It was awesome. Now you'll take notice there's a little bit of fat on this Boston butt. Keep it. Do not get rid of it. You're not supposed to be working with lean proteins for this. It's not going to hurt. You're not eating the whole thing in one sitting. So that amount of fat is really nominal. It's not going to do anything except add extra flavor. So I'm cutting 1-inch slabs, almost kind of like steaks. And I'm using half of what I bought. This is actually a 5-pound Boston butt. So I went just a little over 2 pounds probably. I know it was a little bit larger than normal, but I'm feeding a guy who can eat for 3 people, so no argument there. And now we're going to make strips, and then we're going to do dice cuts. Rough 1 to 1.5 inch cubes is perfect. And we're just going to keep going through this until we are done. I saved that other pork for a marinade for a different dish, so we're definitely not going to be wasting anything in this house. So now we're going to transition over to a medium-high heat of a pan with a little bit of neutral oil, kosher salt, black pepper. I'm telling you guys, simple. Simple is good. And we're going to start browning off this pork here, especially where most of the sides had a good chunk of fat. We want to render that down. Ultimately, we want to cook it about halfway. If it ends up cooking 3/4 of the way, not a big deal because it's still going to braise in the oven. Just be mindful that you can't walk away while you're doing this. So periodically, turn the pork around. Make sure it's getting some heat to it, especially the fat layer. You want to get that browned. And as you see here, we have finished browning and added it to our roasting pan. And we're going to get this submerged and wrapped in aluminum foil. We have an oven set to 250 degrees, and this sucker's going to braise for at least 3 hours. According to my notes that I have in front of me, it did take 3 hours, and by the time we were able to take it out and check the quality of the meat, oh my God. I'm telling you, this was succulent. It was finger tender. This is what I mean by finger tender. I am putting no effort into this at all, guys. This is pure awesomeness right here in front of you. We're going to serve this up over a batch of rice that we had cooking in our rice cooker. And honestly, guys, I love to garnish as much as I can. You know this from other dishes. So I went and did some fine diced pineapple. We added some scallion for color. Take a look at this. You can't tell me that doesn't look good. It looks amazing. And yes, my husband ate 3 bowls. He was a very hungry boy, evidently. And as always, if you need any help, just leave a message in the comments or send me a private message, and I will be more than happy to help you out. Have a good one, guys. Take care.